everybody. Happy Thursday. Welcome to GPS and Friends. I am so delighted that you are here. We have another wonderful episode in store for you today. Julio Morales, Jake Runestad, two terrific composers with very unique and distinctive compositional voices, are our guests today. As is always the case here on GPS and Friends, we are on chat with you right now. You can talk to us on YouTube chat, or frankly, you can talk to us on Facebook too, where we're streaming. I've been manning both platforms. So wherever you are, send us a hello. Let us know what you're thinking about the show and just chat with us and our guest. Before we begin and jump into the show, there's always this moment where we want to center ourselves and ground ourselves to be prepared for what we are going to receive and experience together. And rather than breathing today, I thought it would be nice to take a different approach and share with you the words of a new poetic voice in my life. His name is Edmond Jabez, and he was an Egyptian Jew who was forced into exile during the crisis in 1956 and spent most of his life in Paris. This excerpt comes from a larger composition called Drawn Curtains, and it was translated into English by Rosemary Waldrop. Hope. The following page. Do not close the book. I have turned all the pages of the book without finding hope. Perhaps hope is the book. I know each and every one of us are looking for hope in these days. We're looking far and wide, in front of us, behind us, up and down. And sometimes hope is just right there with us, right alongside us in all the places where we forget to explore. So think about it during the show today as you enjoy our guests. And after the show, ponder on those places where hope is in your lives. And know that the very best is indeed yet to come for all of us. I've been waiting for this opportunity to introduce you all to our first guest. Julio Morales and I go back several years when we first brought him here to Minneapolis to be part of the VocalEssence Cantaré program. We just share so many things in common that we don't have enough time to talk about. But what I love about Julio is his way of relating with the students. Cantaré is a program that brings these composers into Minnesota classrooms, and they share culture, and then they create new music together that becomes choral compositions for the students to sing. And Julio is beloved by all the students and all the schools that he worked with. And I know you will enjoy him this evening. He's going to greet us with a very special guest, his girlfriend, Anita Alatorre. And they're going to sing a very, very popular Mexican folk song. Please enjoy.
Cántame
hope you enjoyed that rendition of La Martiena arranged by Julio Morales, who's our guest here, and featuring his lovely girlfriend Anita Alatorre. Hola, Anita. It's so good to see you both. Julio, what a beautiful arrangement of that song. You're there at your parents' house, right?
Yeah. Right now I'm in Ciudad Valles. It's in the state of San Luis Potosí, the place where I grew up. But right now I'm with my parents because the quarantine. I wanted not to leave them alone, so I am taking care of them.
And it's so wonderful that Anita could be there with you so that she could sing this beautiful song about a mother who tells her son, when I die, don't cry, keep singing, because when you sing, I am with you. What a beautiful story. And Anita, such a beautiful voice. Que bellissima. Thank you so much, Anita, for singing today. Always lovely to see you. Oh, Julio, it wasn't so long ago that you were here in my house enjoying some pizza.
I know, and I love the pizza of Minneapolis.
Julio and I met doing the Cantaré project, which is a project where we bring composers from Mexico into Minneapolis or Minnesota schools to create music with them. And Julio and I have worked on this project now multiple times, and the very first time in 2014, Julio and his companion composer, Jean Angelus, they were just so excited about Little Caesars pizza.
Yeah, well, because here we didn't have Little Caesars in Mexico, so when I went to the States, when I went to Cantaré project was my first time in the United States, so
I finally said, one day I'm going to show you real American pizza. And nothing against Little Caesars for the Little Caesars owners out there if you're listening, but there is something a little different here as well. And so I wanted to bring you to GPS and Friends, because you're a dear friend, but you are an amazing person, Julio. Your gifts know no bounds. You are so versatile in the musical styles that you can compose in, that you perform in, and all the musical interests that you pursue. So tell our listeners, how did you get started in music?
so fortunately for me, my parents support me, and thanks to it, I could apply in a school of music. It was hard at the beginning to find a good school inside of the country and with cheap payments and expenses. But I found the University of Veracruz, one of the best music schools around the country and one of the cheapest too. Well, I'm coming from a little town here in San Luis Potosí, so I didn't have any approach to classical music until I started my bachelor. But I tried to be very focused during that time. In the career, it's hard, right? Because it takes 10 years to study all the career, and it's a lot of time. So I started at 17, and I didn't want to end my career at 27 years, so I studied music education too, and that career, it took me only 4 years to finish it.
When you discovered choral music, when did you realize you wanted to write your own music?
When I was studying the career, I was like, how to explain this? The piano career, everything on that career is around piano. But music education has a lot of options, and I was like testing myself in everything. And I really love that. I really love to do a lot of things and trying to be good in everyone. But someday my mom saw me that I was very busy doing things, and she told me, I can see that you're good in all those things that you do, but which one is the one? It took me a little while to decide that is composition, my life. For me, composition is to breathing, right? So I cannot imagine myself doing something different.
In addition to composition, you are a fantastic arranger. And it brings me to a question about your group. So you started your own ensemble, vocal ensemble, Vox Populi. Tell the people about Vox Populi and what you do.
Well, Vox Populi project started as a laboratory for me because I wanted to be more focused in choral music. So I tried to make a lot of arrangements, but I didn't have a personal choir to start to sing those arrangements. So I talk with the friends, and they come to my house and start to like something informal, very occasional. The main idea of Vox Populi project right now is to sing popular music like jazz, funk, soul, pop, or rancheras, or music, Mexican folk music, but with a specific style. It's like pentatonic. We're like Mexican pentatonics, something like that.
Yeah, exactly. And you're quite good. In fact, right now, we're going to give you a little snippet of Vox Populi. I'm sure everybody enjoyed seeing a little bit of Vox Populi in action there. Tell us about, your website. Where can people learn more about Julio Morales and more about Vox Populi?
Yeah, well, I have fan pages on Facebook, and we have Instagram too. So you can find, search Vox Populi Project, and you will find us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube.
Julio, before you and Anita share one more song with us, I want you to say something about hope. Can you leave us with a positive message about hope and encourage us in these days?
Well, these days it's hard for everyone because we are social people, so we have to be in home, but you have to think that this will be over soon, so you have to hang in there. Try to have positive things around you, a lot of love, and trying to talk with people that you really love, you really like, because you cannot pass out all this alone. So please, if you need someone to talk, you can talk with a lot of people, even your neighbor, even someone in the street. But don't be alone, because you're not alone.
Yeah, this is why Julio and I are such good friends. None of you are alone out there. We're all in this, not just together. We are here together with each other. This is a virtual platform, but we're very real people engaging with each other in real ways. So know that you're not alone, and know that there is a lot of love in the world. And the very next song that we're going to hear is all about love. It is a Mexican anthem. It's one that when you think of this song, you think of the beauty of Mexico and Mexican culture. Bésame mucho. Kiss me a lot. Love me a lot. It was written in 1940 by Consuelo Velasquez. It's a bolero associated with dance. So as Julio and Anita sing and perform for us, maybe get up in your house and dance a little bit. Here's Bésame mucho.
Bésame mucho, como si fuera esta noche la última vez. que tengo miedo a perderte.
Thank you, Anita. Thank you, Julio, for that splendid rendition of Besame Mucho. Just so glad we were able to spend time with them from Mexico. And now we come a little closer to me here, right down the road in Minneapolis. We're going to visit with Jake Runestad, and Jake is going to begin by playing a little bit of one of his most popular pieces, Let My Voice Be Heard.
Angels, where you soar up to God's own light, take my own lost bird on your hearts tonight, and as grief once more mounts to heaven and sings, let my love be heard.
Jake, I'm so glad you could join us this afternoon. How are you, friend?
Oh, I'm living the dream. How about you?
You know, it's a dream, all right. It's a
That's right.
dream.
It's an
And we're all-
absolute dream.
We're doing the best that we can. And I'm thrilled that you chose to share a little bit of Let My Love Be Heard, because I know that piece has taken on so many meanings since its original conception. It's a way of providing hope and light in the darkness. Just say a little bit more about that piece.
Yeah, it's one that's become very, very special to me. And I wrote it for Choral Arts Northwest in Seattle. Robert Bodie commissioned it. And it was performed as a part of a candlelit vigil. And then after that, it kind of took on a new meaning when Cal State Long Beach, their choir, performed it at a vigil for Noemi Gonzalez, who was lost in the Paris attacks in 2015. And they were supposed to begin rehearsing holiday music right after they performed at this vigil, and they weren't ready to move on. And so they learned and recorded this piece in one rehearsal and offered it to their community. And I think what's so profound about it is you can hear the grief. It's so tangible in the recording.
Yeah, and it's such a timely message.
Thank you.
You know,
Thank
what
you,
was it
Philip.
like growing up in Rockford, Illinois? How did you get your start in music?
Well, I grew up in a very musical family. My parents both had beautiful voices and sang in choirs. My mom did a lot of music theater. My dad played guitar and was in some folk groups. So we sang a lot around the house. And we also had a piano. And I would go to the piano and started plunking out little things that I heard. And that turned into creating little piano pieces and then writing a lot of terrible love songs in high school. So my senior year of high school, I wrote a piece for my high school wind ensemble because I was a band guy, played saxophone.
Okay.
And I didn't join an SATB choir till sophomore year of college. So I wrote a piece for the band and I just loved it. I fell in love with being able to create music that other people could perform.
Mm-hmm.
So last minute, I decided to go to college to study music education to be a high school band director. And sophomore year, I got conned into joining choir because I'm a bass and I could read music, and I loved it. Later on in my collegiate program, I met Libby Larson, a wonderful composer, Minnesota composer,
Yeah.
who encouraged me to think about life as a composer and pursue this. So she said I should go to grad school, and so I did, and had an amazing time getting my master's in composition. Finished that, moved to Minneapolis. I met this guy named Philip Brunel. I don't know if you've ever heard of him.
I have never heard of it.
Yeah. And he was an early champion of my works, and I'm so grateful to him and the whole VocalEssence community for really being a big boost early on in my career.
Yeah, and we're so glad to have you as part of our community, that you call this community home as well. Say more about how you approach an idea and then bringing it to a final composition, bringing it to completion.
It usually begins either with a text that I love or a theme or a story that I want to tell.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I'll go searching for just the right text. And it might be a poem, it might be journal writings, it might be a letter, it might be tweets, a variety of different sources that I like to put together. And I treat it like a research project. So I'm learning as much as I can about who wrote the text and the historical context for that person, for what they wrote, all of the implications of how what was happening in the world could influence what and why they wrote what they did. And then once I'm comfortable with that and have just absorbed as much information as I can, I begin improvise singing the words within the kind of the context of the musical world that I feel like the text has spoken, has dictated. For most music with acoustic instruments, it's really important that it's conceived of with the breath and with the body, and so that the gestures feel natural, feel human, feel musical.
Mm-hmm.
I think sometimes if we write directly into a computer, it can feel robotic and mechanical. I don't write anything down for quite a while into my process because I want it to live and breathe in the world first, so that it feels natural. And then I'll record it all into my phone. I'll scratch things out on paper, little gestures, little harmonies, things like that, and then slowly begin to construct as I find just the right motives and see how I can make those change and progress and develop throughout a piece.
Yeah, I love hearing that process that you have there, and the fact that it's so organically connected to the breath and gesture. That's a way of articulating, I think, what I hear in your music. It does have a sense of real life. Can you share a little bit of a Silence Haunts Me with us before we jump into this conversation?
Yeah. So this piece is it's an adaptation of a letter that Beethoven wrote to his brothers. And my dear friend and amazing collaborator Todd Boss took this letter and reworked it for this piece. And it's Beethoven admitting his deafness. It's Beethoven coming to terms with this hearing loss, him considering taking his life, but ultimately deciding to move forward because he had so much music left in him to create. So this is a little excerpt from the piece near the end when Beethoven kind of comes to term with this and he decides to move on. And you might hear a little snippet of his Ninth Symphony.
That's just stunning. Every time I hear that, it's so moving, and it leads me to this question. Why is it so important to provide a space in choral compositions for us to give voice to human struggle with our health, our mental health, and our emotions?
I'm not really interested in, as far as what I create, in music just for the sake of music. I grew up in a family that believed in service to others, and we spent a lot of time volunteering and giving of our time and ourselves for the benefit of other people. And so when it came time for when my creative life was blossoming, it felt natural to merge those worlds. And so for me, that's helping other people in some way with my art form, with my creativity. And so I think along with that is just what it means to be alive today, and the complexity of our human experience. And so what's so wonderful about choirs, as I alluded to earlier, is the incredible conversations that can happen in the rehearsal process. So for a piece like Please Stay, which, conversations around mental illness and suicide have often been suppressed in many communities in this country, especially. And so to be able to bring those out and allow us to talk about these things in a meaningful way, in a safe way, is transformative.
My favorite, and I've had many beautiful experiences with choirs, but my favorite experience with a choir was the Minnesota All-State Choir in 2017. And it's a summer camp experience. We're together for a week. And Please Stay was the one that I programmed. You remember I reached out to you and said, Jake, I'm doing all Minnesota composers. Which one of your songs should I do? And when you lifted that one up, I thought, huh. And the more I fell in love with the piece and learned about it, the more convinced I was that was the right choice. Every month I hear from a student in that choir that still reflects on that experience. And as you said, it was the whole process, not just the final performances that were transformative. We could go on all day and all night, but you've got one more piece to share with us, and I think it's something new that hasn't been brought to life yet. So why don't you introduce it before you play it for us?
Sure. So, it's been frustrating with all of the cancellations and postponements. And I have a piece that was supposed to have its premiere in April, commissioned by St. Charles Singers in Chicago area, really wonderful choir. And this is a piece that I wrote with Todd Boss, the poet, called Cello Songs. And each movement, there are 4 movements, each movement is a different season and also is related to the cello in some way, because the piece prominently features a solo cello as well as choir and piano. And so I'm going to play just a little bit from the 3rd movement, which is Winter. And it's this image of when a tree falls in a forest and it falls into the arms of a living tree. And over time, it kind of rubs away at the bark as the wind blows it and as the snow falls. And it's this image of the living shouldering the dead. And I think it's such a beautiful text. And so this is just a little part of that movement.
All right, friends, we get to hear it here first on GPS and Friends.
When a dead tree crosswise in a living tree's arms lies, balefully bowing in the glade. Winter seems colder, the earth a little older, the living more forgiving and loving. Well
Thanks so much, Jake. It's so great to hear your artistry once again. And I just love sharing that conversation with you. Ethan, it's so fantastic to have both Julio and Jake with us to admire their artistry.
Yes, it is. They are both, such unique voices in their compositions, and just as artists, I'm so lucky this past year to have gotten to know them. It's my first year here at VocalEssence, and getting to meet both of them and composers like them is just such a fantastic part of it. The ensemble singers, they did their Jake Runestad's piece "A Silence Haunts Me" in the fall. Which is it's really unique. And I have never heard a piece like it. So, and Julio, meeting him this year through the Cantaré program has been phenomenal. And he's such a kind individual, kind soul. And, and that comes across in his interview, as you saw.
It truly does. Thanks for everything, Ethan, that you're doing to make this show come to life. And Pretty soon, you'll be able to hear that ensemble singer version of A Silence Haunts Me, as well as the VocalEssence singers of this age who'll be premiering Julio's composition, Dame tu mano, Give Me Your Hand, that's coming soon. It's just so great to spend this time with each and every one of you on Thursdays. I hope you have a fantastic week. Please drop me a note. Let me know what you think about the show. Perhaps you have a question for our upcoming guests. And I am pleased to announce that we have a mother-daughter pair are joining us next week, Shruti and Nirmala Rajaseka, who will talk to us about their life as Indian classical musicians, and then Shruti and her journey to Western European classical music and how the two mix and mesh. Just a beautiful conversation about their lives in music together. Friends, be well until we meet again. We'll see you next week.